Nottingham Forest travel to Seville to take on Real Betis in the opening game of the Europa League 25-26 season. And this is going to be a European campaign I think Nottingham Forest fans will be grabbing with both hands. It's been a long time since Forest have been in UEFA competition, and I don't think this is going to be lost on the fans at all. Of course, we've had all of the drama leading up to this, with even going all the way back to the Crystal Palace stuff in the summer, never mind Nuno Espirito Santo, Ange Postecoglou, and everything else in between. In the video today, we'll preview the game, the predicted starting 11s, and really what Forest are going to need to do to get the 3 points, because Ange Postecoglou, reigning Europa League champion that he is definitely bringing a good degree of experience into this tie, because he also faced Real Betis in the Europa League as Celtic manager, so there's definitely a few heartbacks, a few callbacks that kind of ring around this fixture in terms of the club, the manager, and even a bunch of the players as well. At any point in the video, if you laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and get into the comment section on this one, and I want to see your score predictions, I want to see your man of the match shouts. And when I say man of the match shouts, it might be the guy holding the award when it's all said and done, but really who is going to be the guy that puts his stamp on the game is kind of what I'm meaning when I'm saying, who's your man of the match shout. But yeah, let's just get stuck straight into this one, because Real Betis is a team that I'm rather familiar with myself. La Liga is one of my guilty pleasures of my weekend football viewing, and Real Betis under Manuel Pellegrini, former Man City manager, are definitely in a really safe spot at the moment. They're operating in kind of normal margins. They finished really well last year. One of the main stories of their team, of course, as you can see from the predicted 11s we've got here, is Anthony, who they have now got back from Man United finally. This was a bit of a late move in the window, but make no mistake about it, he is the most important player in the team. And coming into this game against a Premier League opposition, he's going to have a massive point to prove. Outside of him, there's guys like Pablo Fornals and Giovanni Lo Celso, who have previously played in the Premier League, and there's maybe one or two other names here you might be familiar with, just depending on the football that you take in and that you watch. But the Nottingham Forest team here is pretty full strength, with a little bit of rotation for Chris Wood, and Zinchenko is not officially, at point of recording, actually registered in the squad at the moment, but it is widely believed that he will get his registration in time for the match. So at the moment, this is how the back four is projected to start. And I've not seen every minute of Ange Ball at Nottingham Forest so far, but from certainly what I've seen and from the bits and pieces I've caught, otherwise from highlights and reactions elsewhere, there is certainly that attacking element not came back into the Forest team, but it's certainly been seen and been felt under Ange. And sadly, very much to, I'm sure, the dismay of Ange Postecoglou, some of the tropes, some of those stereotypes from his time at Tottenham have kind of bitten him in the bum here quite quickly. I think this is an opposition, though, that will give Ange a really good game to get the team starting to fire on all cylinders, get the revs really going, and start to build up the tempo and the attacking threat that the team has. Because this is a game that, make no mistake about it, Morgan Gibbs-White is going to be an absolute mainstay, a very important player, and Real Betis and Manuel Pellegrini are attack-based teams and managers and all the rest of it, but make no mistake about it, first and foremost in La Liga is looking after the ball and looking after your opponent as well. And Gibbs-White is not going to find this an easy match to get space in. Sergio Altamira is an absolute brick house of a defensive midfielder. He is massive, he takes no prisoners, and he can shoot from range if you give him some space, so watch out for him. And Gibbs-White is an elite level operator. I know he's going to get opportunities in this match on the ball, but as soon as he does, it is going to be about making sure that the ball moves forward quickly. La Liga teams, although there is some players in this that are not exactly slow, they can be quite quick off the mark, very good in recovery. The thing that they don't have that the Premier League teams should be bringing to the party here is that electric, elite, top 1% intensity, athleticism, however you want to categorise it. And Gibbs-White has shown that he can operate at those levels and be technically very proficient in attack. And like I said, this is a game he's going to have to work really, really hard to get into good spaces and to make something happen alongside the front cast that he's got here. But when their attack is really and Lo Celso's been great for them as well, but as you'll remember from his time at Tottenham, not exactly a specimen of a footballer, very limited, let's just call it like that. And Fornals is a guy that likes to roam and likes to play make as well. And I think when you look and you compare that against someone like Sangar, who's very much going to be the anchor in the midfield here, here, and Elliot Anderson, who's similar to Gibbs White, is really shown in a couple of games and in his England appearances that he's taken his game to a new level. And for both of these guys, more as a pair, maybe rather than just Gibbs White as an individual, I think this is going to be seen as a huge challenge to overcome and like really get the team over the line with on the European stage, because that's probably the one thing. I know Anderson's featured in some European stuff, or I think he has anyway, for Newcastle, but going away to Sevilla, very, very hot part of Spain. I know it's going to be nighttime and whatever, but I think this will be the real, where the game can be won and lost. And it might sound like a bit of a cliche to mention that in terms of the centre midfield here, but really in the wide areas, like Dan N'Doye and Hudson-Odoi should have a lot of joy and should get on the ball quite often. But their goalkeeper likes to catch crosses, their defence take no prisoners. I'm not too sure chance creation from out wide is really the way to go in this type of match. And equally on the reverse of that, that's probably going to be where they want the ball. In fact, they're going to want Anthony to get isolated 1v1 with Nico Williams, most likely, maybe even Zinchenko, where he can really open things up. And similar with Cucho Hernandez, again, big, powerful, fast runner off the mark, a good fox in the box kind of instinct about him as well. He's going to want to isolate a centre-back and play off them very quickly when the ball turns over. And again, Rodrigo Riquelme or maybe Abdi El Azawi, whoever's going to play on the left here for them, will be looking to do that on the other side. And Betis will be quite comfortable not dominating the ball, but they'll be happy to look after their opponents. And I think this is going to be, for most teams where, you know, like it can be the unstoppable force smashing off of the immovable object, and these games can kind of stalemate themselves out. But as we know with Ange, he throws the kitchen sink at it, and Nico Williams, it could be Savona, I highly doubt it, but whoever he does let off the leash to be wild card, to go on and like be the inverted fullback, or really the pushing of the envelope player here, I think will give Forest a difference where they will create some more chances from open play, and they'll be able to take their chance, you know, make some chances to actually take them. But even as I'm talking about the game and thinking about how it's going to unfold, would I be surprised if Real Betis scored first? Probably not, because Real Betis, you know, that whole stadium, everything under the floodlights is going to be a very good home venue for the home team, and they do have X Factor, they do have magic players, like Rodrigo Riquelme has got a great range of passing and a great shot on him as well. And even though I'm kind of saying like Lo Celso, Fornals, Altamira, these guys are not athletes, they're not going to be like, and I'm not saying they're weak or anything like that, far from it. I think they're very, very strong, but they're not going to be as a free, like really covering the grass and really like dictating the game all the way across the pitch, the same way that I believe Elliot Anderson and Gibbs White are going to be, where I feel that you're going to see them all across the pitch linking up with one another, creating attacks, doubling up on one side of the pitch perhaps, or doubling up and kind of helping the forward if they're trying to play out from the back. Whereas with the three midfielders of Real Betis, I feel they're, you know, Fornals, I say, will go walkies. Lo Celso is the kind of playmaker, the man with the passes, and then Altamira is the shield. So they've got a kind of balance of their own here that could cause some problems, and some players that can pop up in some different areas to cause some issues here. But I think ultimately Nottingham Forest are going to have one too many routes to go in their arsenal, and even considering the strength of the bench as well, when you factor in the likes of Cali Muendo and Dylan Bakwa can come into this game later on, never mind McAtee. If we just sub some of them out here, let's imagine that's like a front three change almost. Forest have really got the ability to keep the intensity going, and yes, they've got maybe someone like an El Azawi that can keep a tempo or change the game up for them later on. A Cedric Bakambu, who is a very good fox in the box kind of striker also, but maybe doesn't quite have the same explosiveness that Cucho has. But outside of that, any of their options, all Betis really have on the bench is the ability to protect what they have. So they're going to be very interested in starting the game hot, starting the game with a good tempo and a good ferocity, and then try, as the game goes on, maybe to hang on to what they've got. Whereas Forest have got the ability to go up the gears to really target a certain area of the pitch if they see that they're getting all the joy down the right. Maybe they do some sort of cheat code move where they just make sure that they focus everything down the right to make things happen. And like I said, I just think they've got a lot more solutions to the potential problems that Real Betis are going to offer them here. I think Elliot Anderson's always a great shout for that man of the match, the man that could write his name all across the fixture. But for me, I've seen Gibbs White be so effective in big matches for England under 21s, maybe even under 20s, I forget. But I've seen him in like 2 or 3 international tournaments be an absolute top end standout, and I think he is going to be one of the best equipped players in the Forest team to go into the venue, to go into the occasion and give what is needed in the game. So I'm going to go for Gibbs White to absolutely write his name all over this. He might be a one-man band in that regard, or he might just be the cut above the rest, but I think this is going to be a big game for Gibbs White. You can feel that Ange would give players like him the agency and the motivation, like go and, this is Forest's first game back in Europe in however long, go and absolutely smash it and write your name all across it and set the tone for us qualifying. And I'm saying this from a Nottingham Forest point of view, obviously, in the words of Ange, a great start to go and finish in the top 8 and go and have a good Europa League campaign. Now, I do think this Betis team has got a goal in it. Maybe it's got 2 goals in it if they can get Forest to be a bit spooked, perhaps. If they could maybe just get in amongst them quite early, a bit of a shock factor, maybe a little bit of the gamesmanship of diving and bookings and all that kind of stuff. Maybe there's 2 goals they could get in this one, and I wouldn't rule them out for that. And we've not even really mentioned Chris Wood in the reckoning for this either, to be honest with you. But with all the attack options that Forest have across the 90 minutes, I think they're quite good to think about getting 2 to 3 goals in this one. So I think if the result isn't a win, we're looking at like a 1-1, a 2-2 draw. And if Forest are to win it, I'm thinking it's a 2-1 or a 3-2. Not much in it. But the Betis goalkeeper hasn't played much football. That defence isn't exactly primo. And if we think about Betis running out of options as the game goes on, again, I just feels like a Nottingham Forest one for me. So I'm going to go with, because it's Ange and all the tropes that come along with that, all the cliches, I'm going to say Nottingham Forest win this 3-2. Morgan Gibbs White to absolutely run the show. On screen are now some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button for more content like this. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on everything that we've got, right or wrong in your opinion or whatever, in the video today as well. Always love to see the comments on this one. If you're going to the game, Forest fans, travel safely, have a great time. I hope you have fun, and good luck to everyone else that's enjoying some Europa League football this midweek. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one.